Hey everybody, it is Friday, newsletter time. So we are going to do, like we had talked about for the last week or so, we're going to do a continuation of this board prep thing that I did on Coffee and Questions 8 to 17, tips on board prep. So at the end of that video, I had taken my 6-foot boards, redwood and cedar, and I had marked out what size boards I was going to cut out of those boards. So I didn't feel like you guys needed to see me use the saw. You kind of know how to do that. So I've got all my boards cut up, and I ended up with, out of those 4 or 5 boards, I ended up with some 6x24s, some 4x18s, and there goes my paper, and some 4x14s. So we are going to, so my next step in this, again, you know, on that other video, I just marked them out what was going to be what, and then I have now cut these down into my 3 size boards. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually surface them. But I only surface, again, you know, you guys that have been watching for a while, what my process is, I only surface the front side of the boards. For instance, this board here is, I'm going to look and see where the cup is. This one really is one of those rare ones that doesn't have much of a cup, but it does have a little bit of a bow. If you look down that board, I'm moving it, it has a little bit of a bow. So the preference would be to use this as the surface, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go through each one, pick out the front of the board, and then I'm going to sand it. And that's how I will prepare that board for making a sign out of. Now I could put my pad under here, but it looks like I don't really need to. The boards are thick enough that I don't need to. So I'm just going to take my sander. This is my 40 or 50 grit, something like that, and I'm literally just going to sand the front of this board. So here we go. Now you saw I started cross grain just because this board was extremely rough. So I started cross grain and then I turned it and sanded with the grain because I wanted to get those cross grain sands out. So that's probably as much as I need to do. It's fairly smooth enough for me not to get splinters when my hands are rubbing across there, and still enough to give me a good layout, a good sharp layout. I wouldn't always do, now the other option that you have on these is running them through a planer or a jointer. I generally don't like to do that simply because you only have so much thickness to play with, and I don't want to take off anything that I don't need to. That's why I won't touch the back of this board until the sign is already carved, and then I'll just hit the back of that board cross grain. And you guys that have watched me for a while know that's kind of my modus operandi kind of thing. So let me grab one of these 4x18s. So this one, this actually, either one could be the surface. I believe I'm going to pick that to be my surface because it's pretty straight, doesn't have any bows, it doesn't have any cups, it's pretty straight, and this is probably the smoother of the 2 sides. So I'm just going to sand that part down. That's probably pretty good for that. Now remember guys, there's still some roughness here, but this is all, once my sign is all made, I'm going to sand it down again with this 40 grit after the black is on there, and then sand it with my my smooth sander too. So these two boards are cedar. Now I'm going to pick one of the redwood boards. This one, it looks like that's probably, again, pretty straight board. I'm going to pick that for my surface. This one's a little bit rougher. It would take a little bit more to sand that down smooth. Now I know there's probably guys out there that are saying, oh, he's cross-grain sanding. One thing I want to reiterate, guys, I am in the business of making signs, and I do it fairly quickly. I don't have a lot of time. I'm not building fine furniture. I'm not building works of art. I am just making signs. So everything that I do is kind of geared around toward making signs and making them for commercial purposes, so I can make these small signs fairly quickly, inexpensively, and get a decent price out of them. So I know a lot of you guys, you know, you sand really smooth, or you use a planer or whatever. Hey, whatever works for you. I'm just telling you what I do. I'm in the business of especially when I'm out carving on site, which I haven't done for a while. But when I was up in Oatman, I'm taking you through the process of exactly what I was doing in order to prepare boards to get them ready for going up there and carving on site. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the next process that I would do, and we'll have to go into a different part of our shop in order to show you how I round the corners on these. So we'll be right with you. Okay, so we are, actually I can hear the echo, we are in the inner sanctums of our getaway, hideaway. Yes, we are in what we call our cave. This is a 40-foot, it's what I've kind of named our cave. It's a 40-foot shipping container, all metal, with a lid and everything. So we do a lot of storage here. This is where I keep this sander, because I don't use this that much, except when I'm preparing boards. And you know, Dad and I kind of like it hot, and Vicky's over there sweating. So not a happy camper. Yeah, it's pretty warm. So I have two different ways that I do my boards, guys. Most of the ones that I did in Oatman, I did with a rounded corner with a bevel. So that's what I'm going to do here. Another way, Dad's favorite is edging, is the scalloping. And I know there's a lot of you guys that are doing, you know, rustic edges with jigsaws and bandsaws and, you know, different things. And we can do those. But, you know, for this particular purpose, when I'm pre-making my boards, I'm going to do the rounded corners. I'm going to show you how I do that right now. So I've got all of my boards that I did early that you saw in the last scene. All of my boards, I got them sanded on the surface, so I know that's the front. So now what I got to do is just kind of touch up the edges, because some of them still have rough edges. So I'm going to do that and then round the corners real quick. So this is going to be loud. Here we go. So that board now is pretty much ready for putting the chamfer on, and when we go back in the shop, that's what we'll do. But let me do just a couple more. I'll do one of each of all three sizes. Now the cool thing about these that were cut down to 4 inches, I don't need to do the edges on them, because they were done with the table saw. So I don't need to do that. So I'll just do round the corners again. So there's the 3 boards that are pretty much, my 3 examples pretty much ready now to go back into the shop, and we'll start putting some edging on there. But that just gives you an idea, guys, that rounding the corners for me is just as quick as that. Again, I'm not making fine furniture. I'm sure there's a lot more precise ways to do it, but for the signs that I make, that I've sold thousands of, that works pretty well for me. So we'll see you back in the studio, actually. Okay, we're back in the studio. So I just want to mention one other thing. If you want to go and see more on how I round these corners, go check out video newsletter number 56. This is where I did some more rounding if you want more information on that. And on the scalloping, we've got several different videos on that, but check out newsletter number 95. So now I'll get these out of the way. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead and done all my boards. So all of my boards are now rounded, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the bevel on them. So I've got my 45-degree chamfer bit on here. Now the one thing, and I've got my little edging board. I can't remember what I even call that now, but I've got my little board that is just a little bit smaller than the 6x24, so I can go all the way around on that. I won't be able to use it the same way with the little ones. But what I want to do is I want to use a little silicone spray here and kind of make sure that my router base is going to slide smooth. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do a little bit deeper on the front than I do on the back. I would actually probably just show the front just for time's sake, so we're not going super long. I don't measure this any way in particular. I just kind of look at it and kind of go by eyeball. Whatever you like. Some people like their chamfers a lot deeper than others. The reason I build it up like this and use this board underneath, that if I was flat on here and that bearing went down too far, it could catch that mat. So I just like to, it's basically a big bench cookie, if you know what bench cookies are. And that looks about right. Huh? Cookie? I want to go deeper. Just a little bit deeper. So that edge is basically done. I could have... Huh? So that edge is pretty much done on the front. I could have sanded that a little bit more on that belt sander out there in the cave, but I didn't see that actually. But I think that would be fine because it's going to be black anyway. I did all my edges black. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this a little bit different. I have to kind of maneuver this so that bearing doesn't catch that mat. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the backs of these boards. I'll do that off camera, but I'm going to do them basically exactly like I did the front, just a shallower bevel. And then I'll finish up all these boards, and then we'll come back and do the last couple steps and we'll be done. Okay, so my next step is I give a bag of, when I'm doing my regular signs, I give 4 screw eyes and 2 S-hooks away with every sign in a little baggie with my business card, just as kind of a little bit of extra something. So I drill all my signs top and bottom. So and I get this question quite often: what size screw eye do you use? This thing is about 1 inch long, thereabouts, and the hole in the center is about 3/16. If you want to know, I buy these from androckhardware.com. If you have any questions on that, email me and I can give you part numbers. I don't have them right with me. But anyway, I give 4 screw eyes and 2 S-hooks away with every sign. So what I got to do is pre-drill these signs, and I pre-drill them top and bottom, so if they ever want to buy another one and hang it underneath, it's already got holes drilled in it. So let me set that aside. So now I've got all of my fronts and backs done as far as my beveling goes. So I'm going to set these aside right now and show you how I drill these holes. I'm just going to set this here just hold those boards up while I line them up. So all I'm going to do is I drill everything on 12-inch centers. So a 24-inch board, and of course I can't find my pencil. Oh, wait a minute, there's one. Not great, but it's a pencil. So if I come 6 inches from the end, and I know that's probably not showing up over there, and at 18 inches, I'm somewhere around 12 inches centered. Now I can mark the other side, or I could just turn them over and use that same, I caught that, did you see that?
I did.
I caught that. Or I could just use that same hole pattern and mark it there. It just saves me a step of having to measure. So those are drilled on 12-inch centers. Now what I'll do is I will take, I can take a piece of sandpaper, and I just kind of make sure that we don't have any real rough edges on there. I'm going to take and do that. So I'll finish up the drilling on these other boards, and then we'll get set up and spray these edges, and then we'll be pretty much done. Okay, so we are just about wrapped up here. Got one more thing that I want to do before I spray the edges of these. Baby, you can pan down on here. Every once in a while you'll run across a board that has got some knots in it. You can see that they've got some splits there, and I wouldn't want to leave those the way they are, because if that gets sprayed black, then those will come up black because it'll get down in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use filler. And what I do is I use 3 different colors, and I'm just going to try and pick the one that I think is going to match the best, which for this I think is going to be the walnut. These are the 3 that I use. This stuff is plastic wood, dries really fast. When if it dries out in the can, which it will do once in a while, then I just will add a little acetone to it, and within an hour or so it's good to go again. And that will be dry just in a matter of minutes. No reason I can't just go ahead and work with that just the way it is. So anyway, now and then once in a while you'll run across a board like this where the front looks just fine, but then the back has got those cracks in them inside the knots. But those are nice solid knots, and I wouldn't do anything on those. You can fill them if you want to. For me, unless it's the face of the board, I just don't even mess with it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. That's just kind of a little fix thing that I do to make sure that I don't get any black down in those cracks. So that will just stay like that. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to use this little Lazy Susan thing, and we're going to stack these up. And I generally stack them all together. I've got it hanging over the edge here on my side. I'm going to turn this over because I'm going to stack these on top of there and put it all, try and even up these edges, this back edge and this edge over here. Then I'm going to turn that one over because I wouldn't want to get black on the surface there. And then that top one, I'll turn that one over. So I'm using the Rust-Oleum here. See, the reason I turn these over, you can see if that was turned up, then when I spray the edge of this, it would get black on the surface. So that's the reason I just turn those over. You know what? I should be on that side of the bench. We didn't talk about that. But let me do it this way. So I don't have to worry about getting them all exact because I'll always double check all of that when I'm making a sign out of it. These are just to prep my boards for putting in stock. Now I'll just move that over. And if I'm just close, you can see you've got some few differentiations in the widths of the boards and stuff, but I'm not that worried about that. Like that smell, babe? Isn't that nice? That's what keeps me going. All right, so now I'll just slide this down. Slide this down. And there they are. Those are pretty much ready to put on the shelf. Ready for, that's what I would do if I was making these boards for carving on site. So I think we had 4 boards, 4 of the 6-foot boards, and we've got these. When I was carving in open, I got $30 a piece for these, so that's $120. I got $20 a piece for those, so that's 80. That's right, 30, 60, 100. That's 200, and that's about $245, $250 worth of boards there that I can make signs out of. And the prep is already done, and for 4 boards they're about $3 a piece, about what, 12 bucks, 12, 13, 14, let's say 15 bucks in material. Not bad. Again, there's just things that you have to do on there, a little bit more labor, but that's not bad for 250 bucks worth of signs. And that's actually cheap. Those signs right now, if I was doing them in opening, I'd be getting 35 or 40 for those 6x24s. My prices were really cheap when I was up there, but that was like 3 years ago. Anyway, guys, we got one more segment to do because we got something new to show you. So we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I hope that was helpful for you. Several of you said you kind of wanted to see my whole process. It might be, I hope it wasn't redundant for some of you, but that's just my process of what I go through when I make boards to go out to a live event. So I hope that was helpful. So our last announcement, last part of this video is Vicki has come up with a new layout template set that we've had requests for quite a while. This is a set that we are calling First Responders. So we have 5 layout templates that are basically firemen related and the other law enforcement. So you can kind of see what they look like there. And I've carved them all in a board. So
hold on, let me do this.
Oh, okay. So they're all somewhere around 3.5 tall, fit on a 6x24 real well. Here's what they look like carved, or my version of them carved. Not that you have to do in my version. This was probably the trickiest. To let you know kind of what I did here. This was done with a profile bit. This was done with a profile bit.
Hold on.
The police badge there, and then the I think that's what I'm calling a fireman's crest. There's probably, and I'm probably wrong on that, but that's kind of what I'm calling it. That was a little tricky, but what I did was I just carved basically everything that was wood color. If you guys want to see me carve that on a future video, let me know, because I can do it. It was a little tricky. You have to really pay attention to what you're doing. But anyway, so this one and the police badge was done with the profile bit. This one, all of the rest of them were done. The edging was done with the 60 degree V-groove. And then all of this background, of course, was done with the 90. Actually, you know what? I think... I did these not so much. Gosh, I think I did. Oh man, yeah, I did all of these actually with the profile bit, all of the detail on there. This one and this one was done with a 60 because they were so big of lines. Yeah, these were done. The intricate part was done with the profile bit, and then the 90 degree for the background. Anyway, I really like the way they came out. And again, we've got a lot of requests for these kinds of things. So Vicki did an awesome job going out and finding these and making layout templates for them. So hope you guys like them. They'll be available on the website along with the bits and everything else that we've got.
Yeah.
Huh?
At the end of the weekend.
By the end of the weekend, they'll be available on the website. If you have any questions on them, let us know. I guess that's about it, guys. Thanks again for watching. Everybody have a great weekend. And... we will see you on Monday morning. Gosh, I'm carving redwood. I can feel my sinuses.
I can hear it,
You know, the cedar doesn't do that to me, but when I carve the redwood, it's weird how the redwood...
It's because you're allergic to redwood, silly.
Yeah, I guess so. They told me I was allergic to sawdust when I was 15. So, it's interesting the career path I chose. But you do what you got to do. Anyway... everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday morning. Bye.